In the World of Darkness, there are two kinds of hunters, Rambos and Buffies. In Hunter the Reckoning, you play as the Buffies. The player characters in HTR were all chosen by some divine voice. This voice told them to fight back against the darkness in some way. Those who accepted their fate and rose to challenge the World of Darkness came out the other end as the Imbued. The Imbued are all mad Buffy the Vampire Slayers, who have been given superpowers to fight against the darkness in all its shapes and forms. Calling you Doom Slayers is not inaccurate, however, it may be an exaggeration, as actual Doom Slayers exist in Wraith of the Oblivion, but more on that later. You and your team are a group who came together for one reason. You want to kill that which goes bump in the night. You may specialise in hunting a certain type of monster, but you will rarely get to choose your battles, as the voices, aka the storyteller, will occasionally come back to tell you who your next hunt is going to be. HTR is the most combat focused of all the playbooks, even more than Werewolf the Apocalypse, which was designed to be the most combat focused, but that's neither here nor there. Due to this fact, it's the most similar to D&D, because you're playing as monster slayers in a world filled with monsters. An additional neat fact is that you don't need to get into the lore. After all, why should you care about some millennia-old fart plot to be promoted to senior management, or some furry's ecological cause, or a witch's right to deny reality? You're here to kick ass, because the voices in your head tell you to, and because your friends want to do it as well, and because you're slaying monsters, which is a good thing, and most importantly, it's fun. While combat is fun, and can be quite engaging, there is not much storytelling in comparison to the other playbooks. It does have its own chronicles, aka campaign books, but most of the campaigns and quests within them either fall into hunting monsters or fighting monsters, with little to no nuance due to the simplistic nature of the Imbued. So it has the opposite expectation of playing BTM. Don't go in expecting mountains of roleplay, because you're here for the action. Another reason you should not play HTR is because most of your time won't actually be you fighting or hunting a monster. Instead, it'll most likely be you investigating and building up to the confrontation. Remember, BTM also had the slow build-up to release of tension, and most playbooks will follow this story structure. Some may consider this defeating the purpose of what HTR was created for, and it can be the major turn-off for many players trying to go in. You will eventually be Buffy the Vampire Slayers, but you will have to find your target first before you kill them, which, considering that most monsters don't wait to find them and have placed traps to try and stop you from getting to them, can make that journey a long and arduous one. So, if you find the single-minded nature of the Imbued boring, then HDR will probably not be for you. There is none. Not because it's bad, but because the Imbued are very new in the World of Darkness. They only started appearing in the Final Nights, with them officially first being recorded in the 1990s. Compared to the extremely long and detailed lore of the other monsters, the Imbued are effectively children, even in comparison to the non-Imbued hunters. That's right, normal people have also become monster slayers when they found out about the World of Darkness. And back when vampires and werewolves and other creatures of the night ruled the world, humanity fought back by hunting them into the shadows. This means that the non-imbued hunters have lore that expands more than a paragraph, and can be a fun read. But again, this isn't a weakness, it's just a fact. This openness means that your players can and will shape and define what it means to be an imbued. The Imbued are one of the only blank slate playbooks on offer in the World of Darkness. And while some may consider this a problem in comparison to the other playbooks, which have thousands of years of lore, it also means you only have to delve as far in as your storyteller wants to in order to tell whatever story you want to tell. Again, why should you care why a vampire is doing a task or a fae is being a dick? They're not human, and the voices tell you that they need a good killing, so kill them. The Imbued Hunters of Hunter the Reckoning only have one edition, which is revised, aka 3rd edition. This means that it can be played with 20th Anniversary Edition playbooks and lore due to the nature of that edition. The other edition that HDR is used in is 5th. However, due to the mass retconning of lore, the hunters within 5th are, well, I want to say non-imbued, but the writers cannot decide whether they are or not. To make matters worse, they've introduced a lot of elements to 5th's HDR that contradicts what happened in previous editions in regards to non-imbued and imbued hunters. The new HDR 5th edition books also break the law of the World of Darkness, such as encouraging storytellers to make the werewolves not a race unto themselves, but instead play it as a curse, which is not what the Fera, aka changing breeds, are in the World of Darkness. The worst offender in this regard is the hunter organizations themselves. The original gripe with HDR was that it was too focused on the imbued over the established hunter organizations and non-imbued. However, H5 overcorrected. It minimized the imbued's importance and elevated normal humans as hunters, which was a good idea. But then, they decided to make the hunter organizations an antagonistic threat to other hunters. The amount of big brain energy required to not only think that up, but to go through all stages of development, including release, must have been monumental. Humanity is surrounded on all fronts by monsters of all kinds. None know this better than the hunter organizations, some of which have existed since the 12th century, such as the Society of Leopold. These organizations would never fight other hunters without a good cause or reason. In fact, they would go out of their way to recruit them, even the imbued, who to them would be akin to elite units, or at the very least, invaluable war assets. Making the hunter organizations antagonistic to hunters is counterintuitive to their own existences. That doesn't mean organizations should like each other or not have flaws, but you don't survive against the World of Darkness without making allies, or better yet, friends. Even if it means partnering with an imbued, or even a monster like a mage. The 5th edition playbooks claim this is to confuse and disorient the players and their preconceptions. However, this is ridiculous, as you have organizations such as the Society of Leopold who have been hunters for generations, and your storyteller is somehow meant to confuse them about what is and isn't a werewolf or a vampire. While not as big as VTM's community, HDR is not far behind in popularity. It was also the second 5th edition playbook to come out after V5. Another reason why it's easy to play with others is due to the simplistic nature and lack of knowledge of the lore required to play, beyond surface level details such as how to kill the things that go bump in the night. You could try and treat it as a more generic Monster Hunter game, and you'd probably get the general gist of the playbook. It's one of the least World of Darkness games at face value, but like all World of Darkness games, the more you know about the world, the greater the reward for role-playing, because you understand why things are the way they are, and just how much of a mess you're making in the enemy's plans.